Beneath the streets of Rome lies a hidden world the public was never meant to see. 42,000 square feet of sealed tunnels, some carved centuries before the empire even existed, hiding ritual altars, secret escape routes, and chambers no one has entered in over 1,000 years. 67 sections have already collapsed. Engineers estimate 12% more could follow. And what's been found inside changes everything we thought we knew. The world knows Rome's catacombs, corridors lined with burial niches, frescoed crypts, and the echo of footsteps from guided tours. But these are only the most visible layer. The true underground stretches far deeper and slips well beyond the reach of tourists or even most archaeologists. Standard catacombs descend to about 20 or 25 meters below ground. In contrast, some of the forbidden tunnels, like those mapped beneath the Capitoline Hill, plunge nearly 1,000 feet into the basalt, far beyond the safety of handrails or electric lights. Ground-penetrating radar has revealed voids and passages at depths where even seasoned explorers hesitate, with profiles showing abrupt drops and sealed labyrinths untouched for generations. Access is tightly restricted. Unlike the catacombs of San Callisto or San Sebastiano, which are catalogued, patrolled, and opened for public reverence, these deeper networks remain off-limits. Entry is limited to small municipal teams working under strict protocols. The Grottino del Campidoglio alone stretches across 42,000 square feet, a sealed world that once held shops, taverns, and hidden alcoves, now closed behind reinforced gates since the early 20th century. No guidebooks offer routes through these corridors. Their scale dwarfs the tourist catacombs, with chambers and shafts that twist beneath palazzos, piazzas, and even the city's ancient forums. The difference is not just in depth or size. These forbidden spaces lack the familiar signs of burial, the painted saints, the marble plaques, the orderly rows of tombs. Instead, what survives are raw basalt walls, unfinished vaults, and voids mapped only by the flicker of a laser scanner. The modern city above is built on a fragile crust, and every new scan reveals more of what lies beneath. A hidden city, older and more perilous than the catacombs, its true origins still waiting in the dark. Long before emperors and marble forums, the ground beneath Rome was already scarred by human ambition. Deep in the Monticello district, archaeologists traced the first labyrinth not to a crypt or tomb, but to a basalt quarry, its walls still bearing the marks of wedge-shaped picks and iron chisels. Radiocarbon analysis of organic debris sealed within the quarry dates the earliest cuts to between 250 and 200 BCE, placing this void in the late Republican era, centuries before the city's imperial grandeur. The dimensions are precise. A main extraction pit 6 meters across, plunging over 4 meters deep, carved in a pattern that matches other pre-imperial quarries found across the region. Tool mark analysis reveals a sequence of labor, broad hammer scars from initial detachment, finer chisel lines where stone blocks were trimmed for transport. The basalt itself, dense and blue-black, would later be traced through geochemical signatures to the paving stones of the city above and, in time, to the altar of a Mithraic chamber. But here the purpose was raw extraction, an economy of stone, not ritual, not yet secrecy. Elsewhere, beneath the Roman Forum, a service shaft lined with bricks stamped Agrippa FR cuts through older strata. The stamp links the structure to Marcus Agrippa, Augustus's master builder, but the shaft's lower walls bear the unmistakable imprint of earlier quarrying. Its rectangular cross-section and abrupt descent, over 4 meters before vanishing into darkness, suggest a deliberate reuse of much older voids. These tunnels predate the empire. Their original function was practical, but the scale and depth of the excavations laid the groundwork for a hidden world. As later centuries brought new needs, refuge, secrecy, ritual, the ancient quarry became the foundation for a deeper, more enigmatic network. For every street in Rome touched by sunlight, another may still remain buried in darkness. Beneath layers of basalt and silence, chambers carved for purposes lost to time wait in the dark. In one, the air thickens around a stone altar, its surface worn smooth by hands that gathered in secret. Here, the cult of Mithras once drew followers far from the city's gaze. The altar is not a simple slab. White travertine, incised with a relief of Mithras locked in eternal struggle with the bull, commands the room. Two concentric circles ring the scene, each etched with stylized stars and cryptic symbols. Unlike the open-air shrines found elsewhere, this motif appears only in the depths, where sunlight never reaches. Professor De Rossi, whose notes linger in the margins of excavation reports, reads these circles as a map, a cosmic path for initiates to navigate the underworld of both stone and spirit. The chamber itself measures just 4 meters by 2.5 meters, barely enough for a handful of figures to kneel. In the wall opposite the altar, a burial niche opens, its floor dusted with the ash of burnt offerings. Sealed behind a basalt slab for centuries, this space preserved not only its iconography, but the residue of ritual, charred bone, a fragment of pottery, the faint trace of oil on stone. The very act of sealing, archaeologists believe, was deliberate, a final gesture to protect the sanctity of the cult from the changing tides above. In these forbidden rooms, every mark whispers of a world built on secrecy, devotion, and the promise of rebirth beneath the city's restless streets. Not all tunnels beneath Rome were carved for worship or burial. Some became arteries for schemes hidden from the law and the light. In the shadow of the Forum, ground-penetrating radar traced a basalt corridor running 12 meters beneath Largo di Torre Argentina, its walls rough, the air thick with the memory of hurried footsteps. The tunnel's orientation matches the ancient Senate House, fueling debate over whether it once served as a secret route for conspirators in the days of the Catiline affair. No inscription confirms the theory, but the dimensions, just wide enough for two to pass in silence, invite speculation. On the Palatine, a vertical shaft plunges nearly 4 meters before vanishing into a collapsed void. Brickwork and tool marks suggest the shaft was repurposed more than once, first as a quarry, then as an escape chute, and finally as a service passage during times of siege. The lower walls bear the residue of lead and copper, traces of illicit metalwork carried out far from the eyes of tax collectors. Elsewhere, the Cloaca Maxima, the city's ancient sewer, crosses beneath these clandestine corridors. Archaeologists have found metal slag and fragments of amphorae embedded in the silt, evidence of goods smuggled beyond the reach of imperial oversight. During the Gothic siege of 410 CE, these same tunnels became lifelines for those trapped above, their reinforced arches and hidden crossways preserving a fragile link to survival. Today, laser scans and GPR profiles reveal a network on the brink. Each new survey uncovers fresh signs of collapse, with voids mapped and sealed before the next sinkhole opens. The race to document these forbidden arteries is urgent, a struggle against time, decay, and the city's own restless weight. For every street in Rome touched by sunlight, another may still remain buried in darkness. In 2023, a team led by engineer Alessandro Ferri descended beneath Trastevere with equipment designed for another world. Terrestrial laser scanners swept the tunnels, firing millions of pulses into the dark, measuring every fissure, vault, and shaft with sub-centimeter precision. Over 48 hours, the scanners captured a staggering 1.2 billion data points, each one a digital echo of stone, void, or hidden fracture. The resulting point cloud model rendered the forbidden labyrinth in ghostly detail, revealing 45 meters of newly charted passageways that had never appeared on any municipal map. In Ferri's reconstruction, the tunnels appear as a floating web of geometry, chambers warped by centuries of pressure, corridors that twist and buckle, micro-fractures snaking through basalt where the naked eye sees only shadow. The model exposed not just the layout, but the living hazards, unstable lintels, hairline cracks, and voids where a single misstep could trigger collapse. For the first time, the city's most secret spaces were mapped not by torchlight or rumor, but by a billion points of light, each marking the boundary between what endures and what could vanish with the next tremor. The ground beneath Rome is restless. In the last decade alone, official records count 67 collapses linked to ancient voids. Each one is a sudden breach where stone and earth once held fast. Engineers now speak of a 12% failure risk across the city's mapped underground, a number that turns every new scan into a warning. 3 separate monitoring stations have reported oxygen levels dropping below safe limits, their alarms triggered in sealed chambers where the air thins without warning. The threat is not theoretical. In the Grottino del Campidoglio, municipal sensors have flagged fresh microfractures in basalt arches that once supported whole neighborhoods. The city's monitoring network, a web of sensors and emergency feeds, offers only a slim margin of safety. Dr. Lucia Bianchi, voice strained and urgent, warns that the next collapse may not wait for archaeologists to finish their work. The race is against gravity, time, and the silent hunger of the earth. For every street in Rome touched by sunlight, another may still remain buried in darkness. Beneath Rome's orderly streets, the map is still incomplete. Each day, shifting ground threatens to erase secrets older than empire, before they're ever understood. The city's future depends on what remains hidden and what may yet emerge. For every street in Rome touched by sunlight, another may still remain buried in darkness.